I've been married for 11 years, man. 11 years of early mornings making lunches, late nights fixing leaky faucets, holidays spent assembling furniture while the kids slept. 11 years of believing the woman sleeping next to me was my partner, my person, the mother of my children. I was dead wrong about all of it. And I didn't find out the usual way, like a shady text, lipstick on a collar, or some weird charge on the credit card. Nah. I found out because my 8-year-old daughter came running at me in the cereal aisle of the grocery store, screaming, "Daddy, you're alive." Mommy said you were dead. The card just slipped from my hands. That hollow metallic clang on the linoleum still echoes in my head. I dropped to my knees and caught him in my arms. My son Noah, who was 10, stood a few feet back, frozen. His face looked like nothing I'd ever seen on a kid before. Not just pale, more like he was trying to figure out if this was real or some nightmare. He walked toward me real slow, like I might vanish if he rushed it. Then he grabbed my shirt with both fists and started sobbing so hard his whole little body shook. I held both of them right there on the grocery store floor for what felt like forever. Behind them, at the end of the aisle with a cart and some dude I'd never seen, was my wife Helena, and the color that drained from her face in that moment. Damn. I've replayed it 1,000 times. It wasn't just guilt. It was something way more raw, like an animal caught in headlights. The look of someone whose whole fake world had just crumbled in 1 second, and she knew there was no way the next few minutes were going to end good for her. I want to take you back, because what she did only hits you with full force if you get what I thought we had. I met Helena 14 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. She laughed at something I said before I even finished the joke, like she already knew the punchline and loved it anyway. We got married 2 years later in her parents' backyard on a September evening that smelled like cut grass and barbecue smoke. I cried at the altar, no shame. I meant every single word. I worked in commercial HVAC installation. Not flashy, not the kind of job people brag about at parties, but it was steady with good money once I built up my clients. I worked long hours without complaining because Helena wanted to stay home with the kids when they were little, and I wanted to give her that. Hell, I wanted to give her everything. We had a 3-bedroom house in a solid school district. We took the kids to the lake every summer. I even coached Noah's baseball team for 2 seasons. I really thought we were happy. Thought we were one of the good ones, you know? 6 months before that grocery store nightmare, I took this big contract job 3 states away, a hospital expansion, serious cash for the 5 months on site. We talked out a lot. Helena said, "Go. We need the money. It'll set us up for the next couple years." I call home every night, sent care packages, did video calls for bedtime, and read the kids' stories through the phone screen. Missed Halloween, missed Noah's school play. Told myself it was temporary. The sacrifice was worth it. I came home 2 weeks early because the project hit a union dispute and our part wrapped up fast. Didn't call ahead. I wanted to surprise them. Had presents in my bag, a reservation at their favorite pizza spot, grinning like an idiot the whole drive from the airport. The house was empty when I got there. Fine, it was a Thursday afternoon, kids at school. But shit fell off. Second toothbrush in the master bathroom. Coffee mug on my side of the bed that wasn't mine. Men's shoes by the back door, size 11 when I wear a 10. I stood in my own bedroom with my duffel still on my shoulder, feeling that first cold thread of something's fucked creep through me. Didn't panic. Told myself there was an explanation. Friend crashing, relative passing through. I unpacked and waited. Helena came home alone at 4:30 before the kids' carpool. She walked in staring at her phone and almost bumped into me in the kitchen. She let out this short, sharp scream, then went completely still. "Ryan," she said, "what are you doing here?" "I live here," I said. Project wrapped early. Thought I'd surprise you. The pause after that was maybe 3 seconds, but it felt loaded with everything. She recovered quick. She was always sharp like that. Smiled and came in for a hug. I hugged her back, but something in me had already started turning to stone. I asked about the shoes. She said they were her brother's. But her brother was a 13 and lives 4 hours away. And as far as I knew, he hadn't been in town. I didn't push it that day. Wish I had. The kids came home, and they were straight up thrilled to see me. Emma climbed me like a tree. Noah gave me one of those rare, unprompted hugs. That night felt almost normal, but almost is a dangerous word, bro. Over the next week, I started noticing stuff. Helena's phone was always face down. She'd step outside for certain calls. She was distant, but covering it with this fake brightness that took effort. I wasn't the suspicious type. 11 years, and I'd never once checked her phone or questioned where she was. But that week, I became someone else. I found her messages on a Thursday. She'd left her phone charging on the counter and hopped in the shower. Told myself I wasn't going to look, then I did. His name was saved as gym trainer, but those texts weren't about workouts. They'd been together for 4 months. He'd been in my house, in my bed. She'd told him I was checked out of the marriage, that I cared more about work than my family. She'd been building this whole story about me for months to justify her shit. But the message that straight up stopped my heart, the one I read 3 times because I couldn't believe it, was from 2 weeks earlier. He asked what she told the kids about why their dad wasn't around, and she replied, "I told them he died in a car accident." It was easier than explaining. I put the phone back exactly where I found it, walked out to the backyard, sat in the grass, and just stared at the fence for a long time. She had told my kids I was dead. My babies had spent who knows how long grieving me, thinking their dad was gone forever. And she did it not because she had to, not to protect them, because it was easier. Easier than dealing with questions about why some dude was sleeping in their father's bed. She'd kill me off to make her affair more convenient. I didn't confront her that night. People might wonder why, but I was way past anger. Something cold and precise. If I opened my mouth too soon, I'd either do something stupid or let her spin the whole story. She was good at managing shit. I needed to be better. Instead, I called my older brother Daniel. He's a paralegal and the calmest dude I know. Called him from my car at 11 at night and spilled everything. He didn't say much, just, "Don't touch anything in that house. Don't move your money. Don't say shit to her yet. Come to me tomorrow." I slept in the guest room that night, claiming a headache. Next morning, I went to Daniel's. We spent hours on the phone with this divorce attorney, Patricia Chen. She had that energy like she'd heard every version of this mess and wasn't shocked anymore, but she was quietly pissed on my behalf. She laid out exactly what to do and in what order. I took notes. For the next 2 weeks, while still living in that house and playing the clueless husband, I followed her plan to the letter. Documented the messages, screenshots saved to a cloud she couldn't touch. Gathered financial records, opened a new individual bank account, photographed every bit of evidence of him in our home, hired a private investigator named Claire, who confirmed in 3 days the guy's name was Derek. He worked in real estate and had his own place 20 minutes away where Helena spent 2 afternoons a week. I also quietly talked to the kid's school counselor. Didn't spill everything, just said I had reason to believe the children had heard something distressing about me lately and asked her to check in gently. She called back 2 days later, voice all measured but clearly worried. Both kids had mentioned losing their father. Emma had drawn a picture in art class, family before and after. Before had 4 people. After had 3. I sat in my car in some parking lot and cried for 20 minutes straight. Then I wiped my face and got back to it. I wasn't playing games or being dramatic. I was protecting myself and, more importantly, building something solid to protect my kids. Patricia explained that how a divorce starts usually decides how it goes. If I hit her with raw emotion and no proof, she'd twist it. She'd already shown she was capable of way worse than I ever imagined. I needed solid ground before I blew everything up. 3 days after talking to the counselor, Helena took the kids to her mom's for the weekend. The second her car left the driveway, Claire showed up and we did a full walkthrough. Documented every trace of another man's stuff in my house. She was professional, thorough, and grim the whole time. Sunday night, before Helena got back, I sat in the living room looking at the house I'd paid for and built a life in. Made my peace with the fact that everything was about to change. Then came that Monday, I wasn't supposed to be home. An estimate appointment canceled last minute, so I swung by the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle comparing oat content or whatever when I heard Noah say, "That guy looks like Dad." And then Emma screamed. I held my kids on that floor until they could breathe right again. Noah kept whispering, "You're not dead. You're not dead." In this low voice I'll hear my nightmares forever. Emma had tears streaking down her face and kept patting my cheeks like she was making sure I was solid. I told them I was real, I was here, I was never gone. Daddy was fine. When I finally looked up, Helena was still standing at the end of the aisle. Derek was next to her, looking like he wished the floor would swallow him. A bunch of other shoppers had stopped to watch. I stood up, kept Emma in my arms cause she wouldn't let go, looked straight at Helena, and said in a voice that stayed completely level, "We need to talk tonight after the kids are in bed. This is done." Her face flipped through a dozen emotions in 2 seconds. She glanced at Derek, he stepped back, looked at me, then the kids. Then she just nodded once, like someone who knew the firing squad was already lined up. I took my children home. Derek didn't come. I let the kids help me make dinner, cause they wouldn't stay more than arm's length from me the rest of the day. Emma sat on the counter, handing me stuff. Noah sat at the island chatting about school, friends, the class hamster. They didn't bring up the store thing. Kids process that way, push it aside, till later, soak up the safe feeling of having me close. Helena got home at 7. She walked into the kitchen, saw the three of us, and this look crossed her face, pure grief. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore and didn't care. After the kids were in bed, we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. I had a folder in front of me. She started to speak, but I held up my hand. "I've known for 2 weeks," I said. "I have everything, messages, photos, financial records, testimony from the kids' school counselor about what you told them. My attorney has copies of it all." She went white as a ghost. "You told our children I was dead," I said slowly, letting every word hit like a hammer. "You told Emma and Noah their father died, so you could have some guys sleeping in our house more comfortably." "Ryan, I'm not asking for an explanation." I cut in. "I'm telling you how this is going to go. My attorney has the divorce papers drawn up. You're signing them. We're agreeing on custody that puts Noah and Emma first. And you're going to tell them the truth, an age-appropriate version of what happened. You're going to tell them their father is not dead, was never dead, and that you were wrong to say so. You'll do it with a family therapist there. Those are my terms for keeping this civil." She cried, said she was sorry, said Derek meant nothing, that she'd been lonely, that me being away had broken something in her, and she didn't know how to say it. Claimed telling the kids I was dead was just a panic moment that got out of hand, that she meant to fix it, that she hadn't thought it through. I listened to every word without interrupting. When she finished, I said, "I believe you believe that. Doesn't change anything." I slept in the guest room again, door locked. Patricia moved quick. Papers were filed within the week. I'd already told my parents. They were devastated and furious at the same time. My mom cried. My dad, this quiet man who picks words like a jeweler picks stones, just said she's going to find out she made a very expensive mistake. He wasn't wrong. See, Helena's whole life was built on stuff I'd been holding up for 11 years. The house was in my name. I'd been the main earner the whole time, and the mortgage showed it. The joint account I'd already separated from was mostly my money. Our social circle, neighbors, school parents, the couples we hung with, mostly knew me. And Derek? Turns out he had his own situation. Claire dug deep. He wasn't single. He was in a long-term thing with a woman named Tessa who lived with him and had no clue he was spending Tuesdays and Thursdays with my wife. I didn't call Tessa to be cruel. I called 'cause she deserved the truth. Kept it straight facts. Said I had proof and would send it if she wanted. She was quiet for a long time, then said in this steady voice, "Please send it." I did. Derek moved out of his place within a month. Meanwhile, the fallout for Helena ripped through our community faster than I could have ever planned. I didn't spread it around. I just told my family and closest friends. But the part about what she told the kids, that hit different than regular cheating gossip. Folks who might have shrugged off an affair didn't shrug at a mom telling her babies their dad was dead just to make her side piece more comfortable. That crossed a line people felt in their gut. The school parents found out. I don't know exactly how word got around. I suspect it was through the school counselor network, some careful whispers. Maybe Helena's own unraveling in a conversation she didn't even know was being observed. What I do know is that within 6 weeks, the invitations just stopped coming for her. No more coffee mornings, no group chats, nothing. People were still polite at pickup, but man, the warmth? It evaporated like it never existed. Her own family was a whole mess. Her mom called me, not Helena me, to apologize. Helena's younger sister Christine texted me directly. I don't know what to say. She was wrong. I'm sorry. Helena's dad, that proud formal guy who'd always seemed kinda meh about me, showed up at the house one afternoon while the kids were at school and talked to Helena for a solid hour. I wasn't there, but later in one of our cold logistical exchanges, she told me he'd said she had shamed the family. She said like she wanted me to feel sorry for her. I didn't. Derek, to wrap up his part in this drama, never even called Helena after Tessa threw him out. Dude decided a woman whose husband was very much alive and very much on top of shit wasn't worth the risk. After making himself the center of her world for 4 months, after being worth lying to her kids about, he just deleted her number and ghosted. I found a certain cold poetry in that, not gonna lie. The custody stuff got sorted through mediation. Patricia was worth every damn dollar. I got primary residential custody. The mediator backed it hard with the circumstances and the school counselor's notes. Helena got generous visitation. I actually insisted on that, cause as pissed as I was at her, I knew my kids needed their mom and I wasn't gonna use them as weapons. That was the one line I held firm on my own anger. The family therapy happened like I required. 3 sessions with this therapist, Dr. Okafor, who specialized in kids and family trauma. Helena sat across from Noah and Emma and told them haltingly that she'd said something very wrong, that daddy had never been in an accident, that daddy was fine and had always been fine. Emma burst into tears. Noah went rigid, then hit her with that brutal 10-year-old directness. Why did you lie about that? That's the worst lie. Helena had no answer that satisfied him. I watched her search for one and come up empty. I didn't get any satisfaction from it. I just reached under the table, took my son's hand, and held it tight. The divorce was final 7 months after I found the messages. We sold the house, split the equity. I'd already put a deposit on a rental nearby. 3 bedrooms, good light, close enough to school I could walk the kids on nice mornings. My parents came that weekend to help furnish it. Mom moved through the rooms with her measuring tape and ruthless efficiency. Dad assembled a bookshelf with the patience of a man who just fixes things. My first night in the new place, after the kids were asleep in their new rooms, I sat on the back step with a beer and listened to the neighborhood quiet down. I expected to feel gutted, expected that hollow feeling I'd been pushing away through all the chaos. Instead, I felt something I hadn't named in a long time. I felt like myself again. I hadn't realized how many years, more than I wanted to count, I'd spent trying to be enough for a woman who had already decided I wasn't. Trying to compensate for absences I created by working hard to give her the life she said she wanted. I'd been so busy building something for her that I'd lost track of what I was building it with. So I threw myself into the kids in a way that felt less like catching up and more like actually living. I coached Noah's baseball again that spring. Emma took up painting, and I turned half the garage into her workspace. She declared it the best room in any house she'd ever been in. I started running in the mornings early, just me and the empty streets. I dropped 18 pounds without even trying because I was finally sleeping properly for the first time in forever. Work picked up in a way that surprised me. With the hospital project on my resume and solid references from the site foreman, I landed a commercial contract with a property development firm that turned into a long-term thing. By the end of the first year post-divorce, I was billing more than ever and turning down jobs I didn't want. I hired 2 assistants. I finally bought that truck I'd wanted for 3 years, but always found reasons to put off. The irony, and I let myself notice it just once, was that Helena had told Derek I was checked out of the family, more into work than being present. But the one who'd really been checked out was her. I'd been right there trying. She just stopped seeing me, or chose to stop, because seeing me clearly would have meant facing what she was doing. I ran into Derek once about a year later at a gas station of all places. He was filling up a sedan. I was filling up the truck. He spotted me first and went dead still. I recognized him from the photos Claire had taken. He was shorter than I'd pictured. I looked at him for a second, finished fueling, put the cap back on, and drove off. He wasn't worth a single extra heartbeat. Helena and I settled into that weird co-parenting rhythm, exchanging kids at doorsteps, coordinating holidays, texting about doctor appointments with the chilly efficiency of business partners. She was in an apartment now, working part-time at a dental office. She'd lost the whole social world she'd had before, and even from our careful distance, I could see it still shocked her. She hadn't expected the community to hold the judgment that hard. She tried once, about 8 months out, to have a real conversation about us. She called while I had the kids for the weekend, kind of tactical mistake, and said she'd been in therapy, that she understood the full weight of what she'd done. The lie about my death was something she thought about every day. She missed our family. I told her I was glad she was in therapy. I told her the family she missed still existed, just not with her in it the way she was picturing. I said our kids were doing well, and that was the only outcome I've been fighting for. Then I ended the call and walked back to the kitchen where Noah was trying to make pancakes and Emma was giving him editorial commentary on his technique. I stood in the doorway a moment before they noticed me. Noah had batter all over his shirt. Emma was standing on a chair to reach the counter. They were arguing in that affectionate way they'd had since Emma could talk. Morning light poured through the window over the sink. I thought, this is what I was building. This is what I was actually building all along. And it survived. About 18 months after the divorce, I met Grace at a renovation project. She was the interior designer the firm had brought in. She was direct, funny, and treated me like a real person right away. Sounds like a low bar, but it felt huge. We grabbed coffee 3 times before I told her about the kids and the recent divorce. I laid it out early because I was done with anything built on half-truths. She appreciated the honesty, said she had her own history and reasons for taking it slow, and that slow was fine with her. We took it slow. We took it careful. I introduced her to Noah and Emma's 6 months in on a chill Saturday afternoon. Within 20 minutes, Emma was telling her that the garage studio had the best light in the house and asking if Grace wanted to see it. I took that as a strong yes. Noah was more reserved, had that instinct for me, but by the end of the afternoon, he was showing her his baseball cards, which for him was basically rolling out the red carpet. I'm not saying Grace fixed what Helena broke, because that's not how it works. What I will say is that sitting across from someone who sees you clearly, with no agenda that needs you to be smaller or simpler than you are, is a feeling I'd gone without for so long I've forgotten I was missing it. The last time I saw Helena with any real weight was at Noah's 6th grade end-of-year ceremony. She was there with her mom. I was there with Grace and Emma. We just nodded across the gym. She looked tired in a way that had settled into her face. The kind sleep doesn't fix. She glanced at Grace once and then looked away. Afterward, Noah found me first in the crowd, holding his certificate and trying to play it cool about being proud of himself. I grabbed him by the shoulder and told him how proud I was, so loud that a nearby family turned to look. He turned red and grinned big. On the drive home, he sat up front. I asked how he felt. He thought about it in his careful way. Good, he said. Like actually good. Yeah, I told him. Me too. I heard about Helena's life in bits and pieces after that, the way you do with people you used to know, through mutual connections and random updates. She moved to a smaller apartment across town. She and Derek apparently tried to reconnect for a hot minute. Christine told me, sounding almost too sad to say it, but it fizzled quick. The dental office job didn't last. She was doing some remote admin work. I didn't dig. I didn't chase updates or get any kick out of her situation. Honestly, after a while she just stopped taking up space in my head. Not exactly because of forgiveness, though I'd made my peace with the marriage being done for my own sanity. More because I'd filled that space with real shit that was mine. My kids, my work, Grace, those morning runs, the garage studio I kept promising Emma I'd repaint. My dad called one Sunday afternoon about 2 years after everything blew up. He asked how things were going, and I told him straight. They were going well, genuinely well. He said, I knew you'd be all right. I want you to know I knew that. I asked how he knew. He went quiet for a second, the way he does when he's thinking deep. Because you didn't stop, he said. A lot of men stop when something like this happens. You didn't stop. I thought about that for a while after we hung up. I thought about that grocery store floor, holding my kids while the cart lay on its side. I thought about those 2 weeks of silence while I built my case. I thought about Patricia and Claire and Dr. Okafor and Daniel's steady voice on the phone at 11 at night. I thought about that first morning in the rental when I finally felt like myself again. He was right. I hadn't stopped. And Helena had lost something she convinced herself she didn't need. A husband who loved her completely. A life that was whole. A man who in 11 years never once looked elsewhere. She traded it for a guy who deleted her number the second things got tough, and an easier story to tell her boyfriend night. I hope in her quiet moments, she gets the full cost of that trade. I don't say it with any pleasure. I say it because it's true, and truth was the one thing she feared most the whole time. Now she lives inside it. And I don't. Emma finished that painting she'd been working on last spring. She hung it in the kitchen herself and asked what I thought. It's a family portrait, the four of us, her, Noah, me, and Grace. The colors are bold and a little off in the way that makes it interesting. Noah's taller than everyone. I'm in front, a bit larger, solid and centered. She titled it My Family Now. I look at it every morning.